What is going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Bobby Fi with my man Eric Sheets-Haber. We're gonna do a little golf stuff in a minute. I'm not as excited about this week of golf. I think there's a lot of strategy involved, which I think should be fun. But I really have enjoyed what's been happening, and I'm sure Sheets has been enjoying it because he just wins all the money. But anyway, it's coming off of sort of an interesting night. I actually didn't really make much money on the night, but I had a shot in the monster at some points. Thought I would show that real quick, and we could just talk about like a little reverse engineering before we jump into the slate, if that's all right.
Sure.
Good with you, Sheets?
Whatever you like, you're the boss.
All right, let's go. I just wanted to talk about, let's see, is it share? Sorry. You can see my screen, right? I think you can. Yeah, so basically this was and I got lucky with the overtime in Memphis, give Ja a few extra points. So it wasn't like I felt like this is a tournament I should have won or anything like that. It was really just the separation between third and seventh that was annoying. And I went from third to sixth, but I wouldn't have gotten there anyway because I would have ended up at 402.2. So I would have been in fourth place. So no big deal, only $4,000 difference. Nothing that's terrible, even 15 to 4. It wasn't like I felt like I had this in hand or anything like that. So it wasn't, and I never really had a chance to exactly win it. But it's a pretty straightforward lineup. The only thing that I did that was a little bit different other than playing Ja and Van Vliet, which I thought was pretty, I mixed up. I basically split Paul George shares with Van Vliet on FanDuel and his low ownership because the price difference on DraftKings. Of course, as I tell you all the time, it really doesn't matter when you're talking about guys with upside like that. And I could have done some different things. I mean, Moses Brown got very, very fortunate that the Clippers were getting blown out, and the second unit came back because Zubac was about to go off for like 60, so I would have been dead in this one for that. I mean, he literally had I think he had 30 almost in like 20 in the first 20 minutes he played or something like that, or maybe even more than that, or less minutes. But anyway, it's a pretty straightforward lineup with just those two things. And I left a little bit of money on the table. I left a few hundred on the table, which I'm finding the more and more I do that on FanDuel, just the results tend to be there more. So I just wanted to touch on it real quick. Obviously nothing epic or anything about the night. You needed 1 million points to win. And then if you did have 1 million, you're going to be tied with a bunch of other people. My other lineup was no good. It actually was a pretty solid lineup. On a normal night, that would have been decent. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about it real quick. But overall, not a huge winning night, nothing like that. I just thought it was interesting to look at how few changes you actually have to make on FanDuel. I mean, look, everybody in this lineup is basically 50% owned with the exception of Van Vliet and Morant. And by the way, I had some with Morant with Paul George in there too. I just wanted to point that out. You don't need to get all that creative. And by the way, playing Ja at 7,300, 7,400, when he's going to be 4% owned and there's all this other stuff, you kind of want that. So we just want to try and pick a piece or two on FanDuel more often on these. It's not a small slate, but these days the chalk is good chalk and there's tons of it. So we don't necessarily need to get wild and way off the board in everything, especially over the next few days until the trade deadline.
Yeah, my big mistake was I was a little more confident in Devontae Graham as opposed to Drew Holiday. That was the main.
Yeah, that was my mistake too. Not necessarily Graham over Holiday, but I definitely played too little Holiday. And you know what? Easy to say that. I look at one point, I think he had made his first 9 shots or something like that. I mean, it was just red hot in the first quarter, and sometimes that happens. It's you deal with it.
But I did a couple of nice things. I had a couple of lower owned guys, like John Wall ended up much lower owned than he could have been. And I had a good amount. I actually had 40% of Tyrese Halliburton, who actually ran a little bad. Actually ran a little bit, played a little bad.
Yeah, played bad down the stretch.
But he had a nice day. I did correlate him with Sexton, who kind of fizzled out. So it was one of those cards, one of those slates where you really had to drill everything, with how good the
but was. Most of it was very easily drillable. Like the cash game lineups are basically the lineups that were in the top 10 on sites because it was only 1 or 2 pivots. And John Wall, I was glad you mentioned that. We really have to it's not happening on tonight's slate, but we have to keep in mind Houston going forward. We can't buy into any of this minutes limiter, monitored minutes anymore. That was absolutely bogus. He hasn't played a back-to-back all year, and they said we're going to monitor his minutes.
Yeah, they monitored it.
37 minutes.
They monitored it.
What did they monitor?
They monitored it. They looked at it. They said, yeah.
They took a look at it. I guess that's fair enough. All right, Chiefs, why don't you pull up your screen and let's get into today's slate.
Yeah, one last thing about it was that the winning lineup in the DraftKings one was a single bullet, which had Kyle Anderson and Sterling Brown in the same lineup.
Well, there you go. I mean, that was certainly not something that could cross my mind.
That'll do it.
I almost benched Kyle Anderson in my season long last night.
Nope.
That's pretty bad. So, all right, let's get into it, because the first game, I actually think there's something we can do. I have a lot of interest in different parts of this game, and it's not necessarily where everyone else is. Do you want to, before we do the first game, do you want to say your overall overview of the slate? Because my big thing is going to be the same thing I'm going to say it the next 2 days. Just be careful. There's a lot of things that are going to happen after lock. And by the way, like the Tatum thing had nothing to do with trade rumors, but that was a weird one. I mean, it was nice. It would have been nice to know that. There's a lot of things that are going to I just expect to happen over these next few days with the trade deadline and potentially guys sitting. And we'll talk about it as we go, but it's a really highly volatile time of year, which is great for tournaments. Oddly enough, last night, all the chalk hit, but that's because it became very obvious early enough who we could pivot to. Tonight, I'm not sure we're going to have the same luxury necessarily. So just wanted to throw that out there.
I'll tell you the guys, and also I'm really not kidding. Like the NBA can be like exceptionally taxing on the soul. Okay.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, that's one of the reasons why I'm screwing around and playing all these other sports. I'm just like kind of like diversifying. First of all, diversifying my results and just diversifying my brain power a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, it's just have it. I'm telling you, the NBA it'll do that to you. Like you'll be sitting there and even like, I don't know if you've noticed it, but I even played, because I did that lecture with Max. He helped me out with the LOL thing, and I played LOL. And actually, I joined a big chop, but took down an LOL tournament literally while I was sleeping last night.
That's wild.
Yeah. I mean, I woke up and I saw, and I went and I looked, and there was like, I think the games were over. I was just waiting. You want to sweat? Like the LOL League of Legends, like even the games are over and you don't know the results yet. They wait until the bonuses hit, and they hit all the bonuses at the same time. And if you don't know that much about LOL, like I had literally no idea what was going to happen when the bonuses got attached to the players, and then boom, went right up to number one, right? And the point is, I always have money working, always working on my brain, and the NBA can be somewhat taxing. So you can take a little time off of it, and diversify yourself a little bit. But with that said, like you said, it's going to be always volatile, and especially with the trade deadline, it's going to be extra special volatile. So let's. So are you suggesting again that you err on the side, all else being equal, on even if you don't have a Brooklyn-Portland game, to wait until the later games?
I mean, that's a big one tonight. So tonight, I would say that would still hold water. Yeah, that would still be the case. The problem is, it really depends on the games you have at first, and there's a couple guys I like in this first game, but I don't think like I mean I'll buy every extra half hour I can get, because I really see it as being I mean. Yes, I guess just to answer your question, yes.
Hey, one thing we should just reiterate again, I mean, I thought about this, maybe we can change the Discord. So we're going to be doing a coaching thing. We're going to give away a coaching session with either Bobby or me. And I think we made it too hard again. I thought about the math of this. Like the contest is going to be that during the live stream, Bobby is going to announce who his top GPP play is. And that's going to be whatever he thinks that means. You know what I mean? Whether, I presume the ownership's going to have to play some part of it, upset has to play some part of whatever, and whoever gets that right gets a free coaching session. And I thought that, at first thought that, well, you know what? If there's a tie, like if a couple of people get it, then the tiebreaker will be who my top play is. But I was thinking about like no one's going to get it. I mean, like it's so many guys to choose from. Maybe if they don't get yours, then the next best thing would be if they can get mine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we're making it too hard for people.
And also, by the way, it's an optional whether or not you want to record coaching session. We could go through it publicly. We could do it privately. I know most people want to do it privately, but in general, if you wanted to do it and we could put it on our program.
Whatever. I just want someone to win. I want to make it gettable.
We'll make it gettable.
Well, I mean, you got to give people the rules. I mean, you can't cheat.
Yeah. We'll figure. I mean, somebody will get it. Somebody will get this one.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
I think so. So, all
right, maybe drop a little hint, like during this.
Okay, maybe I will. But I think that it's going to be pretty obvious.
Okay, that's all you need to know. That's it.
I think they know me pretty good with the NBA. Okay. They sort of see where my head goes.
Okay.
But it is interesting. I like maybe not. So let's talk about the Denver part of this game on the first side. I have a lot of interest. Look, we've seen how horrible Orlando is against guards consistently. Jamal Murray is really cheap and has obviously the kind of ceiling you want. Not to mention the fact that not that Vooch is like this awesome defender, but when you put guys like Vooch and Jokic against each other, I do feel like you're going to see more of the guards and wings creating in this game. So that's my main thing. Is I love the price on Jokic. I think that there's an almost like I feel good. Actually, both centers. I think they're both going to hit value. I don't think that they're optimal. I think that there's a lot of stuff later in the game, later in the day that we might want to know before we play these guys. So I just think that I'm probably gonna if I'm mass entering, which I'm gonna be doing today, probably 10 to 15% Jokic is my current plan. Maybe I'll get a little bit higher later if more value opens. I can double pair him with Harden or something, Ben Simmons, something like that. But right now, I really like Jamal Murray, and as we know, Jamal Murray tends to be extremely underowned. I think he'll project a little better today, so have some ownership. But Murray, I would rank my interest in the Denver side, Murray, and I do like Barton as well. Murray, Barton. And then you have a Porter Jokic about 10%. I would take a stab at.
So I think that Jokic and Vooch are both really, really good plays. They're not my priority spend up. Harden is my priority spend up. I'll leave you with that right now. But I do think that both those are very, very good plays. But I will say this. You said you guys wanted to hit. All right, so this is not going to be the case. Okay, I'm looking at early ownership projections of like 6-8% on Jamal Murray. There ain't no shot that holds, okay? Because it's mathematically impossible, because if that is the case, then I personally am going to push the ownership up above 10%.
Right.
There's just literally no way that it's 7,100 against Orlando, who can't guard point guards, like you were saying, that's going to, I mean, that could end up being a mega chalk. It just has to be, doesn't it? I hope not.
I think people will spend up for Jokic at too cheap a price tag, or Westbrook or Harden, where I do think he gets a little bit left out. But I agree with you that it's not going to be that percentage. I really don't think so.
Well, we're gonna have to see where it goes.
Yeah, I would bet him on the. You won 50 cents from me, by the way. You won thanks to the zero run after the first 3 minutes of the second half from Zubac. You beat me by half.
Moses Brown didn't close either.
No, yeah, he played all the minutes. Zubac was out there. He didn't get any minutes.
Who played more minutes? Who played more minutes?
Oh, I'm sure Moses Brown did. I'm sure he did, because.
But in fairness,
yeah.
If my information is accurate, I did say that Zubac was more risky to not get the run with the second unit.
But you said in a blowout, which, by the way, is exactly bizarre.
It was a blowout.
But it was a blowout the other way. And then the whole thing, and also the weirdest part is the
whole thing was a bunch of bullshit. Basically.
He was by far the best player on the court. He was going to have a career night.
By a lot.
So my issue with Vooch is simple. I don't know of anybody this season, and you know what, Chad, you guys can correct me. People love to point out, that's fine. Absolutely correct me.
Ooh,
I don't know if Jokic if there's been a game against Jokic this season that I would even want. Like, I really can't think of one from any center. So
really?
Except for Boban. Can
Jokic defend people?
Yeah, the team plays good defense for one thing, but in general, you have this guy who touches the ball more than anybody else in basketball. I mean, think about it. If someone's guarding James Harden, don't you think they're going to be a little bit less, offensively minded for that game?
Yes.
And Jokic is that. I mean, he touches the ball more than Harden. Like, that's the craziest thing. But I mean, it's been consistent, and I actually think he does play good post up man-to-man defense. I'm literally looking back at it, and I don't see any games. Now, they've faced a lot of teams that don't have good big men, but I don't see any games where anybody gets there against him, basically. And at 9,700 with the other guys in the slate, I just can't see myself bringing myself to click that Vooch button, even though it's a great price for him in general. But you really need 60 out of him, I feel like, if you want to try to win a tournament. And I just feel like at that point, don't you just want to play Jokic? I don't know. It's just not it's for me right now. I don't have much. I have him at 5% of my 150 lineups, but I may change my mind later on, depending on what value opens up.
You want to play this guy up on my screen or no?
Who are we looking at? Oh, at 3,900. It looks tempting. It's less tempting than it looks like, to be honest. Like, he's fine. Take a shot there, multi-entry, all that stuff.
Okay.
But I think we'll find better plays. I mean, you got other cheapness that I have a little more interest in. Even PJ Dozier in the same team, I actually think I might have more interest in the thing that frustrates me with Millsap is that even if he gets like 16 in the first quarter, you feel great. You don't usually see anything from him after that. And he just doesn't shoot the ball 10 times ever. When is the last time he shot the ball 10 times? We shot it once and it was 10 exactly in the last 20 games. It's tough. Orlando, I do like, by the way, I don't like him as a play, but as a very low owned, large field, I think Aaron Gordon's in play. And I think he actually is a good play on FanDuel.
Do you want to move on to Washington Knicks?
Yeah. By the way, keep an eye out for Terrence Ross. That could open up a little bit of something.
Speaking of Terrence Ross, not necessarily speaking of Terrence Ross, but how good was Terrence Mann last night?
Yeah, that's the comeback. Terrence Mann and Luke Kennard just furiously brought those Clippers back.
Crazy.
Taking away all the Zubac love. Jeez.
Taking away all the Zubac. All right, Washington, New York. I think that Julius Randle's another smash play. Big pace up spot. I mean, this is slow pace versus fast pace, and fast pace is just going to win that battle. Not going to win. You know what I mean? They're going to win the battle, but not necessarily win the war. They'll get the pace they want. And Randle just, I think, have a good old time with it. I don't know. So I like him. And on the Washington, I don't really like anybody else in New York. And on the Washington side, I like. Guess I like them both, but I don't know. Westbrook and Madison Square Garden beats me. I'll let you tell me which one to pick. But Beal is almost disrespectful at 9,400. Not quite, but he's getting there. If he had done more recently, he'd be more disrespectful, I suppose. But
he was so bad the other day.
Westbrook at 10-8. That's rough, man.
I have to say, so you don't need to be a genius to figure this one out. So picture an alien coming down and watching these guys play. If anybody watched these guys play, it would be. I actually think Westbrook has become like one of. I know it sounds nuts because their supporting cast is the worst in the NBA. Nobody has a worse supporting cast around Westbrook and Beal. But people would think you were like high or crazy if you suggested that Bradley Beal is a better player than Russell Westbrook. Right. Russell Westbrook is absolutely looking like the old Russ again. And he's been spectacular. He's been efficient. He's been a fantasy goldmine. I mean, you're looking at his last. Here's his last what?
It's a triple double like every game.
He does every game except for the one where he had only had 17 assists in that game. 80, 59.2, 62.5, 82.2, and 70. And I understand the matchup is bad, but I'm tempted to go back there when they're in trouble. That he's the guy they lean on. And by the way, Bradley Beal doesn't come through enough. That's a big part of the problem. It's not Russell Westbrook taking away. They give Beal plenty of shots. His shots down the stretch are terrible. He's been awful in fourth quarters of games this year, like awful. So I'm not saying Bradley, by the way, if it was starting a team and I was trying to win a title, I would rather have Bradley Beal right now at this point of their career. But I'm just saying this is the Westbrook we want. And it's going to be hard to not have at least some interest to play him with Harden in some lineups. I don't think I would play him instead of Harden. But I certainly don't mind, you trying to use those guys together. And I agree with you. Beal is a little too cheap. So these are guys who I'm looking at in the 15 to 20% range, maybe a little bit higher for Westbrook. And then the Julius Randle makes perfect sense. The matchup is literally as good as it gets.
And he plays 40 minutes a night.
He plays a million minutes. All the things look great. The only thing I'd say is that with all the guards back, we get to see like the game against Orlando. You should probably throw out.
Yeah, that was funny
because they're all there.
Yeah,
and then the game against OKC you can kind of throw out because they didn't have their guards then either. Now if Peyton
it's going to look like the Brooklyn game, I think.
Maybe the Brooklyn game is a good example, but he was on fire in that night too. But you need all of that. This is still the guy just getting you 60. I mean, I'm just saying. The other guys we talk about in this range have gotten us 70 pluses, things like that. And not saying that Randall couldn't. I just think that it's interesting to think about, especially what I'm going to guess is going to be pretty high ownership. But yeah, it does make a lot of sense. And I don't think they have anybody physically who can match up with him. So maybe getting some exposure. It's just there's a lot of good pay up options. And I don't know that Randall is at high ownership. I would take over these other guys who have a slightly higher ceiling, I think.
Okay.
All right.
Anybody else in this game or no?
I mean, they're all like it's Washington, right? So Barrett is probably a better play than usual. I just don't think we can we have to know about Peyton for sure, but even still, like I don't know if I really want to get involved with these guards at these prices personally.
So the Lakers New Orleans game, it's kind of funny because when I look at like the run of projections that I see and the way I do these things at like noon, it's like so weird sometimes. Like the guys that I think are going to be like the best plays, maybe he will be. I don't know, but for me, the best play from this game, and right now like a top 10 value on the slate is Montrezl Harrell.
It's wrong.
Okay.
My opinion. He got there the other night by playing spectacular and out of his mind, and he hit his projection. That's what happened.
Okay.
He hit his projection in a game
but is he like getting like a lot of publicity and stuff? I mean, like.
So also Gasol is now we've got Gasol out here. I had Gasol as possibly in. With Gasol out, then maybe we're talking about a little bit of a different story.
Okay.
Terrible matchup. Good pace matchup, but terrible in the fact that Steven Adams and the big guys over there. I just don't.
Right.
Maybe he has to be on the court more, so you give him a boost there. But I am. I think these projections on Harrell. I'm trying to figure out. I know that LeBron rebounds, but like other than some extra rebound equity, what is he really gaining without LeBron?
Yeah, I get you.
But without Gasol, he's been good anyway. So again, another guy who hasn't cracked. You don't really feel good about him when you know you're going to need 45 out of him probably at the price.
Might be a cash play or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe. I mean, I just personally.
What about the other one? What about what about Schroeder maybe?
Yeah, I like Schroeder and Kuzma. That's the way that I'm personally leaning, and then they made THT a price where it's going to be hard to justify, but it's a good matchup for him. So I don't know if I can do it personally. I think KCP and I think Kuzma and Schroeder are probably my favorite two here. There's KCP used to be a guy who could initiate some offense, and he really just doesn't do anything anymore like that. So he doesn't really get a boost without LeBron the same way you think. But one day, I don't know. He did this once when he scored 50 real life points in a game a few years back, and I don't know. I have that stuck in my head. I'm just trying to find ways to play these guys, but they did a good job pricing most of them up. The problem is Caruso doesn't really do all that much when he's on the court, but he's probably the most interesting of the cheap value on their team. Yeah, I'm more on the side of Schroeder, Kuzma, and a little bit of Harrell. Again, we mentioned some other good center plays also, or some other center plays, and there's a couple other guys who I kind of like as well. But yeah, Kuzma, Harrell, and Schroeder certainly all make sense. And on the flip side, part of the reason I think you want to play Zion today. I want to play Zion today personally, and I want to play Ingram where I'm not playing Zion.
Why are we not? Again, I haven't really been following it. He's not really projecting that. I don't even find him in the projections.
That's a mistake.
Okay.
What was it? Go ahead.
Sorry. What was I going to say?
I'm sorry. No, it's a mistake. The projections, I said. Not yours.
No,
not your thought.
You don't even know who I was talking about yet.
I thought you were talking about Zion.
No, I wasn't getting. I was about to get to somebody else.
Oh, my bad. I thought you were taking what I said. Sorry.
No, that's all right. I like Zion. He's good. I like Ingram too. But what? So Ball is out, right?
Not for sure.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Your guess is also that he would probably try to. I mean, there's the trade deadline issue. That's the issue with him.
I mean, if he's out, we're playing Nick Alexander Walker, no?
Of course.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and probably Josh Hart as well. Look, this is the revenge game for all these guys, okay?
Oh, still? That's I keep forgetting.
And not only still, I think New Orleans should be pissed off at a franchise because the Lakers ran their organization so badly for 10 years that they taught these guys how to lose. So they're all losers. Even though they're like Jordan Clarkson had to go to a team with 5 really good players to learn how to win. It sucks. Ingram is an idiot. Like, he's not an idiot in real life. I'm just saying, like, he plays like an idiot. If you watch this team play, they're so maddening because they actually act like Ingram is their best player. And it's so ridiculous. Like, give the ball to Zion, get out the way. That should be your strategy. It's really just Ingram that I have the issue with. But if they're playing, I mean, I actually have interest in all of these guys anyway. Like, I think they're reasonably enough priced. I think the Lakers, this is not the same defensive Lakers that we're used to. Especially, you have no Gasol, no Davis, and whatever you think about LeBron. But anyway, they're missing Gasol and Davis. And I just feel like it's a good opportunity for Hart. So I guess if I was ranking him, I like Zion barely over Ingram. And then I like Lonzo and Hart would be like guys I would want like 20% of if Lonzo does play. If not, we're going to probably dabble with some Bledsoe and some Alexander Walker. I know Bledsoe's been bad, but 4.6 is, if he's really going to be like less owned than Nickeil Alexander Walker at 4.6, I don't mind going that way.
Phoenix, Miami. What's the over/under in this game? Like 80?
It's actually higher than you might think. It's, I was only 215.5, but
I guess
it is a little higher than I would have thought, I guess. Chris Paul seems too cheap.
I mean, sure. Dude, they finally made it to disrespect mode. But you know what? He's earned it, man. He's earned the right to be disrespected. DeAndre Ayton is 5,900 now.
Yeah, and it's probably not the worst time to play him against a team that plays big. Now, their production or whatever, but the biggest problem with Ayton is he hasn't been getting the fourth quarter run. So I don't think Dario Saric is going to go out there and match up, nor do I think that Cameron Johnson or Jay Crowder are going to be able to try and physically compete with Bam. So I actually think the minutes upside is what makes DeAndre Ayton a little bit enticing tonight.
Yeah, I don't think I have this weird feeling I'm gonna be as our friend likes to say, hitting the X button on this game. I don't know. I've just tried to do this before, and I just nobody ever hits a ceiling in these games for me. The one I'll throw out there for you is it not Jay Crowder revenge going back to Miami?
I don't really think about it as much because I felt like he was like a rental player there.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
But I mean, sure, like the guys he knows, I actually don't mind Jay Crowder. I think he's fine anyway.
Yeah.
I actually think that all these guys are cheap enough to where they're in play. And the problem with Phoenix is that they blow people out. But when the games are close, Chris Paul tends to have big games. That's the truth. So I'm open to he and Booker. Sort of on that, but I don't love any of this. These are 10% guys. The only guy who I might end up putting a little bit more on is Ayton, just because. I mean, he's gonna have to be out there, right? Like Saric can't match up with Bam. It just doesn't work.
He played 40 in the 32 minutes in the last game. That would have been fine. 41 fantasy points.
Oh, for Ayton, yeah, he got that last game was the first time they let him go. And then look, if I want to see where the ownership ends on this one. But if people aren't going to play Jimmy Butler, I would prioritize him ahead of those other guys we talked about. And
what is he, 92 or something?
93. He still has, maybe he and Vooch are an interesting conversation. I do think obviously forward is weaker than center. But I mean, like these guys are reasonably priced. Bam. There's also rumors about Dragic being traded. Which would open up everything for those guys. There's rumors about Duncan Robinson or Tyler Hero being traded. This is an early enough game to where I think that we'll know who's on the court at least. But yeah, mostly it's not. These are all 10 to 15% guys, and it's only because it's a small slate. We'll have to see what opens up later in this game.
So Philly, Golden State. I think these same guys are in play for Golden State. I think I actually don't mind the 5,600 price on Jordan Poole. Wiggins at 6,600. And then, boy, this feels a little dirty to not play Butler at 9,300, but then play Simmons at 8,800. But that's just kind of what I'm doing for now. So I guess I like Simmons. Boy, oh boy, how many times does Simmons have to bust for me before I learn my lesson?
I know.
So Simmons.
Well, everybody says that, but it's funny. 2 games ago, like he put.
Well, I didn't have him. I was done. You know what I mean? Like I said, for me,
that was the only time we started playing him, because before that Embiid was playing. I don't think we were playing him at 9K with Embiid. So that was really. It's only been 2 games, and 1 game he got there.
Yeah. When is Australian Heritage Night?
There you go, Mr. Australia. How does he do that? Like that. Actually, what sucks about that with him, Sheets, is it makes you feel that he actually has the game to expand. Anyway, keep going. Sorry, like to do more. Sorry, keep going.
No, that's fine. Embiid, I'll tell you what I'm not doing. I'm not playing Harris over Simmons. at the same price. I'd much rather play Simmons. Even though I'm telling you, this is one of those things. I'm looking at them projection-wise, whatever. They look like totally identical for me as far as values go, but I'm just not doing it. I just prefer to play Simmons, even in spite of what I just said, that he's never done anything for me. So I like the main guy. See, it's so funny, the main guys from Golden State. On a team that had Curry, Klay Thompson, and Durant, like pretty recently, I'm like, we'll take the main guys from Golden State, that being Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins. That's pretty funny. But that's where I am.
Yeah, a lot of rumors of some trade stuff here too that keep an eye out for, like Kelly Oubre is being shopped. This is a big deal because this game is after, obviously this is the afterlock situation.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
And if Oubre is out, I don't mind the idea of playing some Draymond along. I mean, look, Wiggins obviously is a solid play. My guess is the ownership will be so high on him, I'll probably want to try to avoid it. But what's that? Wiggins?
Yeah.
He's been 75% the last two slates. And they didn't raise his price that much. So yeah, they make a lot of sense. Wiggins and Jordan Poole. They're going to project extremely well. I like Jordan Poole's game a lot, actually.
Yeah.
But it does feel like this game, I mean, you have the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. Maybe this is not the spot to over-attack in that situation.
Could be.
And then the Draymond, that leaves you some room with the Oubre thing. If Oubre does, in fact, play, I don't mind playing like him as a pivot off of Wiggins. But yeah, we like this. I would rank them. I still have Wiggins and Poole as 1 and 2. I think I might have Poole as more of a priority than Wiggins personally. Probably, I guess that's on both sides. And then James Wiseman is like free on FanDuel, and now I mean I listened to a Steve Kerr interview yesterday, and it made me just realize like it was really just the one game where he got to he was late for a COVID test, and you can't do that and be an adult. And then he loves them in general. And I think we're going to see his minutes pick up a little bit as they go. You see in the last 2 games, 23 and 28 minutes. I think there's a chance for him to play a little bit more against a team that has a lot of size. So I actually don't mind him on both sites as of right now. But right now, Poole, Wiggins, Wiseman, then Draymond, then Oubre for me. I also heard trade rumors about Pascal, which I don't think is going to happen. I don't think it's real.
Who wants him?
I actually kind of like Pascal as a 6'7" man, but he's never really fully healthy, and they don't really he doesn't add anything to them. He's not big enough, you know what I mean? Like they have 4 guys who basically are just better versions of doing what he does, So anyway, but yeah, Poole is definitely the priority guy in this game as of right now, assuming that nothing changes. And Ben Simmons, I love too. This is a good game to get some exposure to. I love Shake Milton, by the way, one guy you didn't mention. I don't know what's wrong. I think this is just morning projections just being wrong. I think Shake Milton's going to play 30 plus minutes tonight. I have no reason to think otherwise.
Sure.
And did he miss that game? Wait, that game against the Knicks went into overtime. Why did he miss the overtime? Hold on, Sheets. This might be.
You want me to pull up the thing?
If you could, that'd be great. Yeah, because I did not catch that somehow. Did he really miss
in their last game
against the Knicks? Yeah.
When was that game?
That game was the 21st.
Find it for me. Oh, here.
There you go. Let's see.
Okay, so Shake Milton. He played the overtime.
So why was his minutes cut so short in regulation? Did he have foul trouble? Can you see?
Oh, he came in. No, well, maybe he went out for a little bit in the 4th.
And, wait, they didn't start him. They started. Wait, hold on. Can you go? Let me just see this.
Yeah, started Korkmaz, Harris, Simmons, Bradley, and Green. He came in, played almost the rest of it, whatever. And then, yeah, he was off the bench for this game.
I still like him better than actually. Yeah, I really like Shake anyway. Then it's a great matchup for him. He's put up over 30 both games without him. I know, I guess he got the overtime in one, but it's weird to me. I mean, I guess that Simmons against Sacramento, but I still think he's going to play more minutes, especially against a team that's so guard heavy. And Phillies looked like they needed some offensive initiation. So maybe you don't play him in lineups with Ben Simmons, but I think you can play him separately. And then I still like Tobias Harris a little bit, but I would have Simmons higher than Tobias personally. And I would definitely keep an eye out for the starting lineup because you never know what you might see. They might like out of the blue start, not out of the blue. He started a few games ago, but start a Thibault instead or something because of how many wings the Warriors have. And they do that sometimes.
So if you're playing GPPs and you're it's 10 o'clock and you're winning a lot of money, probably going to lose. I don't know. So you have probably, is it the two best players in the slate? I don't know. Well, I think that Harden certainly, and I think that you could play Harden and Lillard against each other totally fine. You want to talk me into McCollum, you could try to do that. Then we could have a nice conversation about some of this value from Brooklyn. I mean, you have Claxton is 3,900 still, Bruce Brown 4,200, Jeff Green 4,300. I mean, you could jam a lot, not jam a lot in, but I mean, you could backweight this game pretty nicely.
Absolutely. Also, it's Portland, so you get the boost. This game should be a high scoring affair. I'm kind of baffled by my projections. I'm guessing that you're seeing this too, right? It doesn't seem right. I feel like is there someone else also out? I mean, Kyrie was out before and nobody projected like this. I know the matchup, well, it was still a good matchup, but it wasn't as good as this one. That was against Orlando no, it was against Indy that Orlando.
It was Washington that he was just playing, I think.
No, the Kyrie was out last time because none of these guys projected at all like this. And all they've done since then is add Blake Griffin. And I can't find any reason why these guys, it's like they're projecting Harden somewhat to be really questionable, I think that's what it is. Because something about it doesn't quite make a lot of sense to me. I mean, Jeff Green, for one thing, has scored a total of 16 fantasy points the last two games.
Yeah.
He played 24 minutes in a close game the other night. Not exactly sure why we know, he definitely has the upside to play 30 minutes, but I don't know that he should be projected at 30 minutes. Nicholas Claxton with Blake Griffin could lose some run, but has been closing in some big games and playing great. So I like Claxton. If I had to rank him, I would rank him well, I'm sort of open to Bruce. I think Bruce Brown is going to get more minutes tonight, but I think that I think I go Claxton Brown for the value. I do like Joe Harris a little bit in this kind of a matchup. I think he could make a bunch of threes. Portland just really, I know they tried to get you in the mid-range, but I don't know. I just feel like there's enough opportunity in a paced matchup like this to have a little bit of Joe Harris. But James Harden you're going to have a hard time not playing him. I think you got to play him and hope he plays. We can try and do some deep digging later on. I'll try and mention it later on. But I do think that Harden is kind of a guy you want to be. I mean, I don't know. I don't really know the path for him failing here. Sheets, help me if I'm wrong. I don't really know what it is.
Well, I mean, the only thing you could say is what does failing mean? Like in his last game, he was in a total smash spot against Washington.
That was with Kyrie, and Kyrie went off, and he had picked up 4 fouls in the first half. Oh no, the 3 fouls in the first half.
You sure Kyrie played that game?
No, I'm sorry, that was the Orlando game I'm thinking of. No, Kyrie. Kyrie just put up 43 real life points against Washington.
Okay.
It's not the same.
Okay. No, it is not.
Yeah, and I actually think the projections on him are low. I would project him around 70 tonight.
Yeah, but they wouldn't do that.
Why not? They used to.
Because they're the stupid industry. You know what I mean?
They used to all the time, and he used to be 13K all the time, and people were happy to pay for it then. I don't know. All right.
How about I just go over other projections? How about that?
Yeah.
I'll bet on all the sites. I'll give you 6 to 5 odds. These are medians, right? I'll give you 6 to 5 odds. He gets over 61 fantasy points, whatever he's projected.
Yeah, I'm with you. I 100% agree with you.
You like Lillard?
Well, so here's this would have been in Brooklyn with fans, with his girlfriend, all that stuff.
Oh, the McCollum?
This was the old McCollum thing.
But he's only playing 25 minutes. I mean,
who thinks he's only going to play 25 minutes? He played that on a back-to-back. He played 28 minutes on the front end and 24 on the back-to-back. Oh, no, that wasn't the back-to-back. Sorry, on the 3rd and 4 and the 5th and 7. Now they've had a couple days off. I guess they've really only had a day off.
okay. Is it worth trying? I mean,
yeah, Absolutely.
Let's do it.
I think that if you want to find, I mean, I want to play more of these late games anyway. I'm not talking about playing loading, like having 100%, but 20 to 30%.
Hey, don't forget if you play McCollum instead of Lillard, now you could play like Jamal Murray. You know what I mean, or somebody. You know.
Yep.
Example.
The weird guy I like in this game, and I'm guessing he's actually going to be popular because he's going to project well, but I kind of am annoyed by that because I had him in my shell lineup before there was any projections released, and that's Carmelo. I just like him in this kind of a matchup. Like, I mean, it's Brooklyn. They've been playing a little better defense, but still, I just think that it's a really, really good spot for him to get off plenty of threes. I also feel like Covington, and again, a fast-paced game against a team that turns the ball over, has some value, but look, nothing too exciting. And because I've sort of said a lot of names, it's partly because it's a small slate and I'm trying to find ways to get different. And to be honest, it's not the greatest slate to do that, in my opinion, so far, just based on these projections. Sheets, before we jump over to FanDuel real quick, do you mind? I'm just going to read through who I had the highest ownership of after that whole thing. Harden, Jordan Poole, and Simmons I had at the same, high range. Zion, then Ingram, and Schroeder, Kuzma, Murray, Brown, Harris, Wiggins, Claxton, Lillard, McCollum, and Green. Those are the guys that I just had at my as my highest ownership as of early this morning. So, okay. You ready to jump over to FanDuel real quick and talk about some positions?
Yeah, FanDuel, the site itself is kind of fishing it up for me, but I still have my projections up here, so we can go through it.
All right. All right. Go ahead.
All right. So I do like building these things, so let's give it a second. Okay. So it looks as though, as I mentioned, at point guard, Lillard's, I mean, I hate to put it this way, but he's like basically free, right? 9,400.
That's what he did the other night when he was. It was weird because he was going off, and it looked like he's scoring all these points and everything. And that was the night where I would have won all the tournament, where I did win the money, but I would have won all of the money. No, that wasn't the night. That was the night before against New Orleans. He was going off in that one too, but he had 0 assists. How about that? Sorry.
That's interesting.
0 assists in a game. That's a little worrisome.
And
his assist numbers are pretty bad without McCollum.
So I like Lillard, and then my next one is Simmons. I don't think I'm going to play deep value with like Caruso or anything like that. Nito, no. So I mean, am I supposed to play Westbrook at 11-1? I mean, that feels so filthy. I'm going to stick with Lillard and Simmons for now.
I mean, I look at Westbrook as being right now, he's a 55 to 65 floor kind of a guy for a reasonable game. So
FanDuel pricing is not his friend though.
It's yeah, I mean, but you do have there is I don't mind like a minimum cost Caruso if you need to, but I don't think he's the optimal play. I would rather play Simmons is my number 1. Lillard is my number 2 just because of the pricing. I'm going to go right over to Jamal Murray over here at really low ownership, no matter how things shake out. No question he's going to be low owned. Then I have a bunch of guys in a similar range: Chris Paul, Schroeder, and Westbrook. I'll have exposure to them, but I'm not like in love with any of them.
Okay. Yeah.
Usually we like point guard a little better than we do today, huh?
Yep. Harden at shooting guard, and then Bruce Brown is a cheapie, and then if you want, and then again, I'm not into the deep value over here. Wiggins or Beal, one of them. I don't know. Bruce Brown is, again, it's not like I don't think he's a lock or anything like that. Like Bruce Brown's like never a lock.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then again, Wiggins is going to be really, really chalky. Maybe Beal won't be that high owned. I don't know. I definitely want to get Harden in. I mean, him I'll pay the ownership for. These other guys, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I think Harden makes perfect sense. Wiggins is the next guy for me. Bradley Beal, probably about the same as Wiggins, actually. Then I would just rather play Devin Booker. I might take some shots on Hero and Bledsoe.
Ooh, okay.
I also like the upside for Hero if one of those guys does get moved, or if they even just hold him out because of it. And they're playing at home, so it's more likely to me that they would do so. And then you get back to the McCollum idea. I think McCollum has a ton of upside here. They obviously want him to shoot the ball a ton. Let me just take a quick look at what his usage has been since he's been back, because that's really all I'm looking for. And I do think he plays 30 minutes tonight, by the way, if the game's close. Yeah, I mean, the usage is phenomenal. 25, 34, 37, and 26. So maybe other people are going to get. I don't think they're going to. And I think McCollum. I don't think this is written in stone that McCollum has a 30-minute. We haven't heard anything like that.
No.
So let's just that's one I think that we should take some shots on. But Booker seems like a guy who just kind of makes sense. Just a little. I know it's not a good matchup, but just feels like a reasonable play if you're going to skip the Harden thing. But I mean, but if you can afford it, Wiggins and or Wiggins a little cheaper, but if you can afford it, Bradley Beal. But I do think Wiggins is fine. Also, I don't love this position for getting different, except for the Hero and McCollum idea.
I think at small forward, it's going to be one of those slates where I think I'm just going to be prioritizing spends a little more.
Okay.
And not be able to get to Jimmy Butler is what I'm saying. Like, I think I'm going to be prioritizing these Lillards and Hardens in other positions.
Mm-hmm.
So I might not be able to get to Butler. And I think everybody's going to feel it. I think Butler's going to end up low owned as a result, or lower owned than he should be considering what's available at the position. I don't know. Again, I don't know if doing that, I mean, it certainly, I think it will get you different. I don't know why I think that, but I think a lot of people are probably going to look at the way I'm doing it. You know what I mean? Just and hard, whatever. But you want to, again, I don't, not say you didn't like him. I shouldn't say that, but Ingram is only 7,600 again.
Mm-hmm. No, I said I love Ingram.
But you want to know, okay, so you want to know what my play is going to be over here, and maybe it won't be that. It's not going to be that crazy, but I'll try Rui at 5,200.
Yeah, I think he's going to be pretty popular. I actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, like, he's projecting really high. I think Joe Harris makes a lot of sense. Good, like I mentioned, good matchup. He's 4,700. Probably prefer him a tiny bit over Rui. Just take the little discount. Again, I like Carmelo in this matchup. Rui's probably a better, safer play than Carmelo. I think Carmelo's upside and probably lower ownership.
You like Oubre if he plays?
Mildly, yeah. I mean, yeah, I do actually, because the price is reasonable. But you also have a pretty reasonable price on RJ Barrett. And I know I'm saying it's got a lot of positions, kind of a weird slate. I think Ingram and Butler should be the priorities. And I think that but Butler not by as much. Joe Harris, maybe Ingram, Joe Harris, Kuzma, Barrett, and Oubre. Those are my 4 highest owned ones that I have written in.
Boy, this is a sneaky tough.
Sorry, I forgot about Barton.
Okay.
Barton I do like.
Boy, this is a sneaky tough slate because there's good plays at power forward too, right?
And there's not great plays like a lot of places, except for the obvious ones.
And Randall 10K, I mean, it's fine. I mean, for all the reasons we discussed earlier. I mean, like, there are a lot of good plays. Bam only 8K. Feels all right.
Mm-hmm.
Draymond, like you said, 7K. Gordon, like you said. Aaron Gordon, well, he's priced up a little bit, 6,300.
But he's a lot cheaper over here.
Yeah. What about going right back to cheapo, to Jay Crowder at 3,900?
Absolutely, yeah. That's my. Now, it's not the thing about him. Like, he's definitely lost a little. Like, there's a little bit, like, he's not getting the 34 minutes and all that stuff anymore because of all Cameron Johnson just came back, and there's actually downside for him in his minutes. But even the little bit of extra stuff that you mentioned earlier has me a little bit even more on him. Yeah, going to Miami, he knows the guys. He had a run with them. Now, most guys, you could say that goes either way. But Jay Crowder's a tough-ass guy, and I don't think that you're gonna I think you'll see him try and bring his best more than anything, and act like he improved his position in to win a title or whatever by going. It's all that nonsense or whatever. But I buy into it a little bit, and I actually think he's a good play anyway. So it sort of is good enough for me. I think Tomas Harris is reasonable at 8,800 if you're going to spend differently, but I would much rather play Zion at 8,600. And I don't know how much Randall I'm going to get to. I just want to point out Randall's in general, and this is the first time I've seen him priced higher on FanDuel than DraftKings this whole season. he's generally a much worse play on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings. Like not even close. He turns the ball over a ton. He doesn't make enough threes to where the 3-point bonus really makes that much of a difference. The 3-point bonus, sorry, it would still help him though. But he does actually make enough of them to where it makes a little bit of a difference. He also doesn't get, I mean, he had 5 steals in the last game. In general, he's not a huge block steal guy. He'll have the occasional outlier game, but he's just not a huge guy in that realm. So he's tends to be a worse play over here. I would rather play Zion than him over here. I would rather probably play Harris than him over here. I may change a little bit later on if I play some more Westbrook and Beal, but to get the correlation. But I don't feel like I see 10K for him and go, oh, I need to get that guy in. The other cheap option to play instead of Crowder is Tony Bradley. Lately it's been the Dwight Howard show, but Tony Bradley does have he has had a couple games this year where he's done the starting thing and they've left him on the court a little bit. I mean, even the game before last, he played 23 minutes, put up 27 fantasy points, and he has the kind of game that does translate well because he can block shots and get steals, even though he hasn't been doing a ton of it, and he's against the right team to be doing it. So those are my guys. I'll mention Draymond again as an interesting, I think low-owned play, but that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Maybe your guy Millsap deserves a little more love on
that's gross.
Just thinking. Oh, and also, I mean, like the other one, Millsap and Aminu I have as both sort of equally disgusting plays at around the 4K mark.
Did you talk about Bam?
Yeah, I like Bam. Sorry, I am with you on Bam. I have right now, in terms of
I don't even know if I myself am on Bam.
I have Zion, Crowder, then Bam as my favorites for the position. I mean, I don't know, what are we worried about with Bam? Great match. It's actually surprisingly a really good matchup. What is his downside? 35?
Yeah.
He's 8K. He's put up, even the game he comes back, he's, puts up 30. He hasn't been I don't know. I think Bam might be a great play, actually.
Do we like Bam more than, what is Zion's price?
86. I like Zion better personally, but I do think that Bam is right there. I don't think it's much of a difference.
And at center, I just play Wiseman at 3,700. I mean,
that's my plan. That's that. Look, this is the ultimate. Do you go all the way down or all the way up? Right? I still feel like DeAndre Jordan, because of the matchup specifically with Cantor, who he's actually had some success against years ago, but maybe he gets more minutes back this time. Probably too speculative for me. Montrezl Harrell's projections are just completely. I'm sorry, I can't project this guy to ever average.
You don't have to apologize.
The guy who I didn't mention on DraftKings, and I should have, who is the other pivot of a cheap guy, is Alex Len. Huge range of outcomes in general with him. I've mentioned this a number of times, but when he gets going, against that Brooklyn team, that was against Brooklyn, but he really got going, and he can put up 30 in 20 minutes. He did it against Sacramento too before that. I mean, again, better matchups, but they're going to need a big on the court more often against the Knicks, who are going to play a combination of Noel and Mitchell Robinson. So you're going to see Len, and my guess is you're going to see Len and Lopez out there almost all the time, because maybe you could put Hachimura on those guys for a minute, but the problem is then you've got to figure out who's going to guard Julius Randle. And my guess is that would be Hachimura. So I actually see Len's having some upside for minutes, and while it's a tough matchup, I don't mind it as long as that guy's skilled enough to where he can get you there. And the last guy I was going to mention was Olynyk.
Well, guys, you could play. You could play freaking Jordan. You could play Dwight Howard. I mean, there's things you could do.
Did I miss it? Oh, my bad. How did I miss Dwight Howard? Yeah, I do like Dwight Howard. I'm sorry, Sheets. I have some guys on my list and they just didn't pop up.
Cantor at 5,900 too?
I mean, this is the price where Cantor starts to become interesting, I think. Yeah, and it's a great matchup. You know what? Cantor is actually going to end up being the chalk, and this projection is a joke. It's got to be, right? How could he not be projected to score more than 30 fantasy points?
Well, yeah, I got the one source like you're referring to has made 26, 27. The other places I have him 30, 35. I mean, it's
the only little danger is first of all, you don't need to play big, and against Dallas, where you don't need to play big, he didn't play many minutes. They got blown out in one of those games. He's been really bad, and with McCollum back, maybe it takes away. But he's 5,900, man. Yeah. We can do it. I still think Dwight Howard might end up being the better play, because Dwight Howard, Philly's going to do what they do. Is there any way Dwight Howard doesn't get 15 rebounds in this game, even in 20, 28 minutes, 26 minutes? I just think he's going to get a million rebounds. But yeah, I would say Wiseman and Wiseman, Howard, and Cantor, I guess, are the best plays here. How did I miss those two guys on my list? I just must have been sorting different. All right, so Sheets, are you good for 6 Eastern today?
I'm good for 6 Eastern tonight.
Awesome, guys. We will see you tonight. Good luck to everyone.
So you haven't. Bobby will post it in the Discord too. Okay, you got to get in there either on this YouTube channel. You can comment here, or in the Discord with who. You know what? Throw out Bobby's top GPP play and mine too.
I love it.
And
well,
then
it'd be really cool if they have the same one. Then we have to almost lock the guy in.
Well, I mean,
right.
It is what it is. So
all right, good luck to everybody.
We'll release those, and we won't cheat. We're on the honor system. It like really, literally, once we fire up the stream at 6, if that's the first thing we're going to do, we're going to say, okay, this is what it is. Then we'll scan and see if anybody won.
Sounds good.
Okay?
All right, good luck, everybody. We'll see you at the top.